Today I was asked why I said America has a sickness. So let's look at America's foundation and maybe a historical context that explains why the sickness exists today, although we know why. And most of us in this country that are people of color have yet to even get human rights. And we talk socially and about civil rights, but you have to start from the ground up. Yes, America has a sickness. America loves to call itself the land of the free and the home of the brave. But what if I told you that freedom was never free and bravery has often been demanded from those who were denied that very freedom? America is like a patient who walks into a hospital with a smile, insisting everything is fine while hiding symptoms that have been festering for centuries. The truth is, this nation is sick. And before we can heal, we must face the reality of what America was built on and what it has become. The foundation of America's story often begins with words like liberty, justice, and equality for all. But beneath those ideals lies a foundation poured with contradiction. The Declaration of Independence declared that all men are created equal, yet 1776, these and those words were penned by men who owned other human beings as property. The Constitution enshrined freedoms, but also counted enslaved Africans as 3/5 of a person. And I don't think it has changed. This wasn't an accident, it was a design. The wealth that fueled America's rise came from stolen land and stolen labor. Indigenous people were displaced and massacred while millions of Africans were chained, whipped, and sold to build an economy that would become the envy of the world. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just." He understood the moral debt America was incurring. That debt has never been paid, and still it compounded through centuries of slavery, segregation, and systematic racism that still shapes the lives today. America's illness didn't vanish with emancipation or civil rights legislation. It mutated. Racism persists in housing discrimination, school funding gaps, and mass incarceration. Economic inequality has widened levels unseen since the Gilded Age. Franklin D. Roosevelt warned that the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. By that measure, America is failing and always has. And then there is the military. From Vietnam to Iraq, wars have been waged under the banner of freedom while defense contractors and corporations profit. President Eisenhower cautioned us, beware the military-industrial complex. Yet today, billions flow into weapons while veterans sleep on the streets. And they're not by themselves. Even police and institutions sworn to protect has roots in slave patrols. From Watts riots to Rodney King to George Floyd, the pattern remains the same. Property and privilege are often protected over people. Frederick Douglass said it best, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and never will. That demand for justice still echoes. And we need to have an understanding that chattel slavery viewed you as property. When has that changed? why this matters. If America doesn't treat these illnesses, the infection spreads, division deepens, trust erodes, democracy weakens. Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." That warning is an urgent message now as it was in 1858. But we already know our country is divided right now. There's cracks in government and the executive branch. So what's the cure? Well, the truth. We must admit the sickness is this. Denial is deadly. We need equity and justice, policies that dismantle systematic racism, close wealth gaps, and hold institutions accountable. But who's going to make that move? To take away the wealth of the rich? We need empathy and unity, because patriotism isn't blind loyalty, it's courageous honesty. And standing by America means demanding better. I say America is sick not because I hate this country, but because I love it enough to want its health to improve, for its people to know true freedom, for people that touch little girls that are grown men to get what they deserve, for the justices and the law to understand that the little money you get is tearing this country up. Power is supposed to be in the hands of the people. So why don't we act like that? Let me tell you something. True patriots don't ignore symptoms. They fight for a cure. And that cure begins with the truth, justice, and compassion. Langston Hughes dreamed of an America that could be America again. That dream is still possible if we face the sickness and work together for the cure. The only problem about what Mr. Langston Hughes said, which America are you talking about? The ones before the Europeans got here? The one after? The one now? Because what I see is exclusion everywhere. What I see in the government are people getting rich off of the citizens and those power brokers who buys their vote. Now, we all know that legislators are not representing us the way that they should, but we act as though we can't do anything, and we haven't done anything. And the only reason why we are talking now is because it's not only affecting the people of color, it is affecting the very people that look like the executive branch. Let me tell you something else. How is it that people who are not indigenous to this land determines who is a citizen or not? Because they wrote it, just like the Bible. How do you determine who really loves God? Not by calling them a Christian. It's by your deeds, not by your mouth. But you know, most people, they still talk about Jesus. And I don't have anything negative to say about that. I heard he was a revolutionary, but I wasn't here when he was here. But I tell you this in leaving. I have never seen a son create a father. But I know a lot of fathers that created sons. And I'm not just talking about walking, talking sons. Okay?